Grenada is one of the most fertile islands in the Caribbean. It's called the Spice Island. The nutmeg, cinnamon and ginger grown here are sold around the world. But like Montserrat, Grenada carries the scars of its battles against nature. The island lies on the edge of the Caribbean's hurricane belt. 5 years ago, Hurricane Ivan destroyed 90% of the buildings. But despite that ever-present threat, Grenadian life goes on its decidedly leisurely Caribbean pace. For them, the forces of nature are just a fact of life. I went to meet an American who chose the island as a place to live and to set up his business. He ignored all thoughts of hurricane destruction, and 10 years ago, Mott Green founded the Grenada Chocolate Company.
Hello, Mr. Green, how are you?
I'm very well. Coming. Very nice to meet you. Yeah,
Hello.
nice to meet you,
Nice
Trevor.
to meet
Yeah,
you.
come on in.
So, this is the world's smallest chocolate factory.
Right, and maybe the only solar-powered one.
And this is where it all happens.
All happens right in this building. We have cocoa farms and we have a fermentory, but all the chocolate gets made right in this little building.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine how much chocolate you can make in a very small space. It's very amazing.
Yes, well,
very dense. You want to see how we make it?
Let's have a look. Thank you.
Yeah, let me show you briefly. Well, the first thing we do is roast the cocoa. We have this cocoa roaster.
Yes.
And we roast the cocoa. These are some beans that we just finished roasting.
Now, what gave you the idea of doing this in Grenada?
Well, I lived in Grenada about 10 years, part of the year, and that was.
But you came from the States.
I came from the States. I kind of fled American culture, and one thing led to the next. I ended up living in a bamboo house up in the mountain, and just grew food.
That's a bit drastic, isn't it?
It was drastic. It was drastic. It was
Where were you living in
extreme
America?
change. In New York City.
What were you doing?
Well, I was an engineering student at the university at the time.
You dropped out?
Yeah, I sort of dropped out.
Came to Grenada to live in a bamboo hut.
Right, and be kind of a mad scientist engineer, sort of in the woods.
It is unquestionably one of the world's smallest chocolate factories. It's also one of the most successful. The chocolate made here has won international awards, and it's now beginning to penetrate the world market. The cocoa Mott uses is grown partly on his own plot and partly by neighboring farmers who all own shares in the company. After the cocoa beans are dried, they come to the factory to be processed.
How many people do you employ here?
There's 13 of us.
13.
And I'm the only non-Grenadian national.
Okay.
And but I'm kind of an honorary Grenadian. You know, I've been here.
Well,
so
yes. And you probably qualified by living in that bamboo hut for some time. Anyway.
Well, when Ron, for example, was a little boy, I was going up and down to the bamboo house because everybody's from right around here. Yeah. I know them when they were little boys. They know me. You know, when I was in my early 20s.
I'm surprised he works for you now, not thinking this American is totally mad.
Well, they think I'm mad, but mad in a good way. You know, if you're not, you'd have to be mad to make chocolate in the tropics, in a place that's so difficult to make it. But I think with very pure goals of keeping the farmers in the local community to be making the end product. Okay. When the chocolate's finished being made over there,
yes,
we have to make it into chocolate bars.
Okay.
It comes out as a liquid. So that happens in here.
Oh, this is the bit we know.
Although it's a relatively new enterprise, Mott's methods aren't entirely modern. Much of the process is done by hand, and many of his machines date from Victorian times. The cocoa beans are roasted, ground, liquefied into cocoa butter, and then carefully set into bars. Once it reaches this familiar form, it's ready to be packaged.
So the 5 people in this room, 1 person molding, 4 people wrapping, we can do 1,000 bars a day like this. From here we take it to a place where we store it and then it gets exported or sold in Grenada from there.
From cocoa beans to chocolate shipment, the whole process takes 3 days. Mott is so totally absorbed in making his chocolate that nothing else seems to matter. And that includes the way he lives.
Actually, I sleep in here. Actually, this room is multifaceted. There's nothing.
Yeah, that's one way of
nothing
describing
to write home about. But it's our changing room where the crew leaves their outdoor garments. It's our library where it's sort of the current books I'm reading. My bed, my clothes.
You don't actually sleep here, do you?
Yeah, I sleep right here. This is my bed. It opens up. It's rather comfortable when it's opened up. I keep it, keep it rolled up for dust.
Doesn't it look to you a little eccentric?
To say the least.
I'm glad you agree with me. Tell me about some of the problems of living this way and doing what you do.
does get a little bit isolating. You know, it's funny. I live in a village where I know everyone for 20 years, and I feel at home, and yet I tend to be a little reclusive by nature. And all my friends here, they, you know, I have certain things in common, but maybe, you know, not as much in common as I would maybe in other parts of the world or where I grew up. So it tends to be a little bit isolating. But I feel comfortable though, because at least everybody's so loving, and you know, and I know them so well.
Eccentric, almost certainly. But it was wonderful to see someone who'd found what he was looking for so many miles from where he was born.
Does anybody ever say to you, are you the Willy Wonka of the chocolate industry?
Many, too many times to count. Here is one of our chocolate bars. Maybe I thought we should taste one. You know?
Yeah, indeed. Very nice. Excellent.